Just 2 days now before the presidential election, there's a war of words between some city leaders here in New Orleans and the Secretary of State. It has to do with getting electricity to the polling locations that are impacted by Hurricane Zeta. A massive effort is underway to restore electricity in southeast Louisiana, but some confusion is leading to some accusations of voter suppression. Tan Trung brings us the very latest.
Some 500 polling places in southeast Louisiana are believed to be impacted by Hurricane Zeta. Entergy pledges to have those locations fully powered for Tuesday or supply the resources to get them online.
Portable generators, lighting, fans, and so forth, so we'll have at least a minimum necessary electricity to provide the ability to power the vote through those, wherever they may be.
On Sunday, Mayor LaToya Cantrell's office issued a statement saying the Secretary of State was refusing to, quote, provide support for generators to power as many as 11 polling sites, which may still be without service on Tuesday. City Council Vice President Helena Moreno added her own statement saying the city will confront and counteract, quote, voter suppression. Responding to the city's claims, Secretary of State Kyle Ardoin issued his own statement, basically saying Moreno and Cantrell are either misinformed or purposely spreading misinformation. All of this came as a surprise to Arthur Morell, the clerk of criminal court who oversees elections in Orleans Parish. He says clearly there's confusion about generators.
The Secretary of State was responsible for getting the generators, but the other part of it, setting them up and delivering them, was something else.
Morell says he's gotten assurances that Entergy will now handle the logistics for those particular generators, and all polling sites will be ready for Election Day. He just wishes he was notified of any discrepancy.
Where the confusing part goes, I don't know. I'm supposed to be somewhere in there, since I'm responsible for the election. But apparently they did some things on their own, which I'm glad they did, and it's resolved. But they should have kept me informed of what's going on.
In Jefferson Parish, Clerk of Court John Gegenheimer says all 146 polling sites in JP will have power by Tuesday, including hard-hit locations like Grand Isle.
They are very confident that we'll be ready for Tuesday one way or the other. Either all of the polling locations will be up and running, or those that aren't will have generator power.
That's the plan. Now it must be executed by Tuesday for one of the most anticipated elections in recent history. Tan Trung, Eyewitness News.
The city did not specify where the 11 polling stations in question are located. Clerk of Criminal Court Arthur Morell says he was unsure which polling places were being disputed, but again, Morell says all polling sites will have the necessary power for Election Day.